make sure they stay focused and not try to look ahead past.
Yeah, we don't have any choice but to stay in the now, in the present, and can't even think about the future because we have to handle what's now. The next four games are going to be really tough, and we have to protect home court, and we have to go on the road and win at a tough South Florida team. So for me, it's 1-0, one game at a time, but we understand what our goal is.
Halo was in here saying, before yesterday's practice, at some point during yesterday's practice, you kind of gave them a speech, I don't know if speech is the right word, but you talked to them about kind of the urgency of this moment. And you felt like maybe that wasn't all the way there against SMU.
Yeah, things changed. Things changed a lot in the SMU game, and I wanted to make sure that we got back onto the track that we were on. We were unselfish on the offensive end and playing together on the defensive end, and that shifted in the second half of the SMU game. And wanted to make sure that we understand that we can't take any team for granted. We can't think that we're just going to walk on the floor and teams are going to lay down because we're still have the five-star players, these quote-unquote big names, and teams look forward to playing against us. So every game is going to be a tough game.
As far as Timberlake and Money, how close are they back to getting on the court?
Earl practiced yesterday. Imani is starting to come back a little bit more, but not all the way back. But Earl definitely practiced yesterday.
You mentioned on your radio show some other guys were nicked up. Do you expect everyone who played against SMU to be available tomorrow?
I hope so. I think the only one in questioning right now is Landers, but he's going to practice today. He slipped and fell and re-injured that knee a little bit, but finished the game, so I don't think it's anything major.
Some of the guys on the team, college in general, obviously you were one of the great point guards in school, you've known for a long time. What does it mean to you when you hear the team referring to that? How do you think it's kind of lived up to it?
Well, I was hoping that, that the team would look at him as being the leader because he leads by example. And it makes me feel good that they respect him to the level of calling him the general because after he's come back from his, the little injury bug when he had the hurt ankle, he's been locked in on being the leader, being the general, being the guy that everyone listens to during the game. He's more vocal in practice. So, I'm proud of his growth, from even the beginning of this season until now.
Sounds like he's very out for at least tomorrow.
Yeah, no, he won't play tomorrow. Yeah, I think it's really day to day, but he definitely won't play tomorrow.
You haven't played Temple this year. What do you see in them, and does it mean anything that you guys don't have? Is it good or bad that the guys don't have any sort of experience against them this year?
Man, they're hungry. That's the biggest thing that I see. They're playing like they want to win something. They're well coached. They've changed things up offensively. They've had a ton of injuries and still played through the injuries and are playing as good a basketball as anyone in our conference. Going to Cincinnati the other day and winning, beating some good teams on the road, and they're starting to believe, and that's without their two top scorers. So to me, Coach McKee is doing an unbelievable job as well as anyone in our conference.
You got that 14 days left in the season, man. If you had to analyze so far, what would your interpretation be of the season so far today?
I think it'd be adventurous from beginning to now, but it's starting to, just like obviously last year and the previous year, we start gelling around the middle of January all the way into February and out. And I think that's because everyone starts to buy in. The buy-in becomes complete from 1 through 15. And it's a good feeling right now to have the guys listening, game plan discipline with the exception of SMU. In the second half, and they've been playing basketball together, and everything's been won. So for me, it's been adventurous, but it's been rewarding as well because we were in a terrible situation early, and we're starting to right the ship at the right time.
A bit of a random question. Guys like David Price, the manager, how important are they to the day-to-day of the program?
Oh, to have I call him Super Dave because he does everything, and he's been around, and he's willing to do whatever it takes for us to be comfortable and be successful. So it's very important to have guys around that bleed blue, that love the school, that love the staff, that love the players, and are just willing to chip in wherever they can to make us successful. No, I think it's really real because the kids, they rely on wanting likes. They rely on wanting the positive feedback. And if they get negative feedback, it could turn for the worse for some of these kids because they all want to be liked. And you know, in the real world, everyone's not going to like you, but they feel like they're going out there and they're playing hard. And when they're critiqued to a level to where they're being critiqued, that's what sports is all about. You're going to have some good and some bad. Sometimes it depresses them, and they can't come out of it. And it's real. And you have to keep talking and keep telling them to believe in themselves and not to try to read too much into it, but it is what it is. When you're a kid, you definitely want to be liked. And when you're not liked by everyone, then that's troubling to some of them.
How was yesterday's practice?
Yesterday's practice was one of our best practices because it was demanding. It was coaching every possession. It was tough. It was a sense of urgency, and that's what I want to see in our guys because we're not taking anything for granted. They pack the paint. They play as a unit. They cover for one another. They guard the ball really well. They take charges. They try to make it hard to score in the paint. They try to give you contested jump shots the entire game, and if you fall into that, then they beat you. And it's just a beautiful thing to see kids that are just buying in, you know, at once, even though they're undermanned, they're finding a way to win games.
You said after the SMU game that you thought that you would get back to the inside-out game a little more, that you kind of got away from it a little bit in the SMU game. Like to get back to it. Is this a game that presents an opportunity to do that? Or
Every game does, but yeah, definitely this game does. The SMU game definitely did because they were smaller. And Jalen and Malcolm are always going to have an advantage. And even DeAndre playing the 3 or the 4, there's always a smaller guy guarding him. We got to go inside out for sure.
Is Jalen's stamina kind of an issue? Is it kind of catching up because, you know, he's a young freshman, never played this much basketball in one single stretch, really, I guess. Is that kind of starting to catch up?
I can see that definitely in some areas where he tries to pace himself because of the fatigue, because he's reclassed up, never really played this many minutes in an environment that he's playing every single night with the travel and, you know, with the practices and still going to class. So I can see it kind of getting on him, but I keep pushing him for greatness. So he listens in practice. He runs as hard as he can to try to get himself in tip-top shape because he knows that his conditioning isn't where it needs to be. Same thing for all the young guys, to be honest, because the load is overwhelming. Like Josh was one of those guys he said he was going to be in the gym, working on his game every day. And once the season started with classes, and once classes started with practice and with games, it hasn't been as much. There's been more time in the treatment room than it has been on the floor. So, yeah, the extra conditioning definitely is needed.